It's all good. All right,
Good
Lori, do we have
afternoon.
clearance from you, Lori, on your side?
Really?
All right, guys,
Hello,
welcome.
Lori. How are you?
Happy Tuesday. Welcome, Michael Richardson, Leanna Rae, Martin Patella. We've got other members here from the Stall High community. I'm Kendra Dickson, and this is our 23rd episode of Stall Talk. And Michael, you said something last week that really stood out to me, and I was like, well, we could talk about that for years. And you said something about just mindless motion. And so I want to talk today about methodical versus mindless. Leanna, I'd like to pick your brain about why is it so hard to say goodbye? Why is it so hard to leave the old, even though we know it's not working? And it's costing us time. Our horses are not happy. We're not happy. It seems like people scramble around constantly looking for a quick fix. What kind of bit is that? What kind of saddle pad are you in? Well, what kind of saddle are you in? Well, how do you approach the first barrel?
Right.
But when given the choice for real change, so many people revert back to what is known and comfortable, even though comfortable isn't working or isn't optimal or isn't best for the horse. So Michael, I'd like to have you start with what is the difference, in your opinion, between methodical training and mindless drills?
Oh, Michael, you're going to need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Mhm.
All right. What a great topic. And we see this every day, whether it's just in conversation or actually seeing a horse and being worked, or working a horse that's been caught up in that process and mindset for, who knows how long. I think when we talk about mindless, in my interpretation, it would be where the horse just tunes out. They're going through the motions, and Leanna can address it much better than I, but you're pushing right at the dorsal mindset, where they're shutting down, they're looking for a way out, they've gone numb. And so often people interpret that as, man, I'm making progress training my horse. They're accepting all this. But in actuality, what they've done for self-preservation is they have just tuned out. And so then they just go through the motions. And I think the other part of that is we get so caught up in, whether it be drills, it be, we think repetition is the way to make the impact on the horse when they start to learn it. In actuality, from what I have seen, that is far from the case. They don't need that. They don't need to be hammered on mentally. And I don't mean being aggressively mistreating. I don't mean that at all. I mean more of a militaristic approach. And then you get these glimpses that they're trying, but they're not. And then they regress. And when they regress, we interpret that as that they've gone numb. And so those are things that I see that I think could, as we continue these talks, helping people understand that if you will just look at your horse and listen to them, you will see, they'll tell you everything you want to know. But sometimes human nature, we tune that out because it isn't our idea.
That's strong. So guys, if we ended right there, if you just marinate on that one statement he just said, that could change your riding and your relationship with your horse forever from here forward. Super valuable. Leanna, what's going through your mind right now? What are some things that you can bring to the table from your expertise? And by the way, guys, if I didn't do a proper introduction, let's do it now. Leanna Rae, our rock star neuroscientist. So you come from a background of therapy. That's your career. You really you geek out on the neuroscience part, and we want to learn from you. Michael Richardson, your show on RFD TV was called The Gift of the Horse. And you basically fix broken horses and fix broken relationships, right? Okay,
Right.
so from a ground level, repairing from the ground level. And then we have Martin Patella, who's been with us almost from the beginning, founder of Life Enthusiasts. So Martin comes from a human health perspective, and it's interesting to tie it all together. So Leanna, with that introduction, how can you relate this to what a human is experiencing so that we can better understand what it feels like to be our horse?
Well, so again, I love that you bring, different people to the conversation, because the mind and the brain is a reflection of the body, as is the body a reflection of the mind and the brain. So we are one. We sometimes, even in relational neuroscience, I see this happening. It's like we want to take the system apart and say, well, this system does this. The attachment system is what creates the healthy relationships, and the nervous system is what creates the states. But it's all working together in unison. And that's the part where creating that relationship between you and the horse, when you can really understand it from how Martin shares it, in terms of your own physicality, or how Michael will share it in terms of what he sees happening within the horse and between the horse and the rider. And then I take a step back and I kind of look at the horizon of this. And you said something earlier that really touched me, because that's a question that resonates in so many different ways, which is, why is it so hard to leave the old? Especially if we know it's frustrating us, it's not producing what we want to see. And, there's so many ways to answer that question, which is why this is a conversation. One way, though, you can see it is that it's been ingrained. We always say this has just been ingrained in us. And what we know through relational neuroscience is that those neural circuits, those neural nets that have formed around a particular way of seeing the world or knowing how to approach the horse, or the skills that you use, have literally been hardwired in. And so the question we always want to come in and ask is, okay, so then how do we begin to rewire? Because what we know is that we have neuroplasticity working in our favor, our whole lives, which means the brain can change. But what we also are really gifted to know is that there are ways in which the brain changes, that we're more adapt to change, which is, first of all, we are an experience-based brain. We only learn through experiences. And those experiences, they require, in order for us to be in that state of learning, which in polyvagal theory would be called the ventral state. And it's a cranial nerve that connects. It's the master wandering nerve. It connects to our lungs, our heart, our stomach. And, Martin can speak to this too. That's why when you're looking at changing a mental state, or if someone is looking to shift that, what they would say is to get more serotonin, it's produced in the gut, right? So this is this kind of understanding that will allow us to have these deeper conversations of, how do we create change? And to land this would be, we create changes through the experiences we engage with and create. Mm-hmm. And to become skillful in relationships, it requires an experiential change. And, we can go, maybe one day we can go through the steps of what that is, what happens in the brain whenever we have an experience, but that is first and foremost. And the drills can actually, and I'll speak to this and let Michael continue to expand on this, drills can actually numb us out. The repetition there's a fine line. Repetition is good, like when you're learning a music piece, but if it becomes repetition for repetition's sake, the brain dulls out, it becomes white noise, and then you kind of wake up at a certain part in the process and go, wait, what did I just do? What turn did I just make? Mm-hmm. And that's the part where then you have to ask yourself, are these techniques in service of the relationship? And that's the question I always ask.
Ooh, are these in service of the relationship? Simple as that. Are your drills, or is your training program in service of your relationship with your horse? Is your relationship and your connection with your horse where you want it to be? If the answer is yes, great. We are here to applaud you and celebrate with you and commend you for that. We would love to have you as part of our community so that you can support and teach others. If your relationship with your horse is not where you want it to be, you have just clicked in the right place. Welcome to Stall High. This is Stall Talk. We have an app exclusively for people that want to connect with other horse owners. I think what we're kind of starting to refine and really find our niche purpose and how we can best serve in the horse world, Leanna, is that people who own horses that are physically healthy, but we don't have the relationship, the horses are not responding as well as we know they can. Like the way you said it, like, Michael, you said those horses stop trying and then they're actually going to regress. I have felt that so many times. I was stuck in that loop and I didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to get out because it seemed like everybody just keeps doing the same things in horse training and barrel racing. So we really want to provide the information and the support for people who want a better relationship with your horse. If you want better results, a better ride, safer, smoother, faster. If you're a performance rider, you've clicked in the right place. Leanna, this is awesome. So number one, we need to recognize the old way has been ingrained in us, whether it's right or wrong, or just maybe it's right for us, but not right for the horse. There's a lot of ways to answer this, right?
Correct. A lot of
Okay.
ways to do this. Absolutely.
Drills can numb us out. Repetition is a good thing initially. I do agree with that. And Michael, maybe you can help riders understand who might be having that two-way conversation in their head right now. But I've heard that repetition is good. I heard that consistency is good. But when we take it too far, how do you know when it's going too far?
Well, yes,
I'd like to butt in with something, may I?
please, sir.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, which is, at the beginning, the statement was mindless versus mindful.
Mhm.
And it's the driver, which is the human. You could just visualize a person in a car instead of on a horse, because the car is mechanical. It will always respond the same way. So think of yourself that when you're first learning, in human, that would be crawl, walk, run. In driving, it would be drive slow and drive quick, take corners, whatever, all the different business that you do with the car.
Uh-huh.
You need to be good at this before you go fast. You need to be good at controlling yourself. And the learning to do something, we always need to do something first slow and mindfully, and do the steps so that whatever, I don't know quite the turn the shoulder down at the right spot and the left hand high enough so that you don't choke your horse or whatever the business is. But you need to go through that really slowly before you go at race speed. And you learn it yourself, so you have it internalized. Then you can go on automatic. Then you can sort of, oh yeah, okay, I can drive to work and think about something else. But before I did that, I had to learn all the moves. So that's where I would guide it.
That's a great
Michael,
analogy.
That's the procedure. That's the process of being mindful about the knowing what you want, understanding the steps that will get you there, drilling it often enough so it's automatic, but not over drilling it so that it becomes a chore. Anyway,
Excellent.
that's
Well said. Michael?
Martin, that was beautiful. I couldn't agree more with your comment. Okay. Jeez. Oh.
No,
No,
you're good. I got you.
forgive- All
I
right.
can hear you and I can see you.
Can you hear me? All right. I think, Martin, you did a beautiful job describing that, and Leanna as well, and Kendra. But one of the things that always comes back to me is what do we do before we walk? What do we do
Observe.
before we learn to walk?
We observe
crawl.
and we
Yeah.
crawl.
We crawl. And sometimes people think, well, I was born walking. We're not like a foal that hits the ground and they stand up. So there's things that we've got to learn on the neurologically on that level in order to be able to walk. Well, to Martin's point, slow is faster. I see so many people. Well, I walk, now I'm going to trot, now I'm going to canter, then I'm going to go to the barrels, or I'm going to introduce ground poles to them. And I spend literally, I go on hours in the development of my horses, and I might spend 300 hours at a walk. Now you think of that and you go, wow, I don't have that kind of time. But yeah, you do, because if you don't do it in the front end, you're going to do it on the back end.
Yep.
So slower is faster. And when we're talking about on the neurological level, what they can learn going slow, how to pick their shoulders up, how to elevate a foreleg and step lateral and step under and be soft, and is looking at, again, the nervous system and the effects that it has. And if we overwhelm our horses by going through these steps too quick in our own mind, because then we're pushing our values on them. Well, I thought you knew. You should know. We've done it long enough. What's the matter with you? Maybe I need to be more assertive. And situations like that, you need to do less. Do less and help these horses start to understand things and feel things different. And then they're going to come to that. They're going to melt right into that, what you're trying to accomplish with them. On a partnership level, not a dominant submissive, not an active reactive, developing a line of communication that we can interact within. We can have this conversation, and it never ceases to blow me away. If we will listen and get out of our own way, what these horses will tell us. It is incredible, but we need to get out of our own way first, and we need to break it down, and we need to go slow. And truly, slower is faster, because once you get that foundation, that solid foundation established, you're setting your horse up to be successful in their whole career. Not just a few runs and then they're burned up and they're done. Not just when they turn 5, they're washed up and they can't do anything else. We've got to change the narrative. We've got to change the mindset. And that's where Stall High and what you all are doing and what we're so blessed to be part of is starting to happen. And it's a beautiful thing.
Amen. I was listening to a YouTube this morning by Brian Tracy, and he said, people argue that they don't have time. You mentioned time. They don't have time to necessarily do it right the first time. He said, interesting thing about time, you may not think you have time to do it right the first time and to pay attention to those details, but you always have time to redo it because you have no choice.
That's exactly right.
It tells you have to go back and try to redo, repair, rebuild. And the thing about horses, and I love, Leanna, that you said the brain can change. Martin has mentioned before, and I've noticed in my own training, when I start horses on the barrel pattern or when someone else has started them, those first 3 days are the most crucial. Horses always want to revert back to their first 3 days on barrels. And if someone didn't take that serious and they were not methodical, they were just doing what someone told them to do, but they didn't really understand the process themselves, those horses never fully understand the process either. They revert back. That first cut is the deepest. Leanna, why is the first impression so valuable?
Oh gosh, because novelty reinforces the brain. If it's novel, if it's intense, if all of those combinations, our felt senses are more alive when it's our first experiences, and that reinforces the brain. But the positive thing about that is because we know that those are the key elements that create the neural firing and then the wiring. We know that this is why having these conversations is that going back to do groundwork this week, whomever's listening, when you can see it with fresh eyes and you can go back and recall Michael's voice, Martin's voice, your voice, Kendra, it's that we go into something familiar with novelty. And that together then begins to create a new neural firing that can stay alive for many days, actually. It's a very beautiful way and a profound way to see what it really takes to change. It's not just changing behaviors. It's changing the way our neural firing, right, is happening between the brain and the body, and how the brain and the body come into sync.
Mhm. And that's how we sync with our horses, guys.
Yeah.
If you are going through the motion yourself, either because you're not real clear yet, like you're trying real hard, but it doesn't really make sense. If every single hoof placement of that turn isn't really clear in your mind, I'm gonna propose that you're still gonna struggle. Or if your mind's racing a little fast, like I just do this, I trot these barrels 7 times. I'm going to do this for 6 months, and then I should take my horse to the race and he'll be ready. That didn't work for me.
No.
I could get it right at home. And when I got to the race or the rodeo, I was humiliated because everything seemed to fall apart and my horse acted like they'd never seen a barrel before. And when you get your hopes up so high, that's another thing. I had a conversation with a new rider. She just purchased Review My Ride video review. And we were talking about hope versus having a methodical plan that works, knowing and understanding the steps. If you first don't know them, guys, or you don't know why you're doing it, you can't snowball your horse. Your horse will not lie to you, but you can't lie to them either. Michael, do you agree with that?
Oh, you hit it right on the head there. It's exactly right. What a horse will help us understand is truth. And sometimes we don't want to hear the truth. We want to hear, oh, you're doing great. Keep it up. This is wonderful. But that constructive, and I don't want to say criticism, but I'll say criticism, is meant in a positive way to help people get that aha, like, oh man, I can't believe you said that to me. But oh, I can feel it. Maybe I can understand it. And the beautiful thing is every horse is different. So we can't pigeonhole these horses and say one approach works for everyone, because we're all different, humans and horse alike, and we all learn different. We need to be open to how do they learn. Tell us how they learn and sit back and wait, and they will surprise you. And to your point, like going to a rodeo, one of the things, or a barrel race, is one of the things that I like to try to do with all the horses that I work with is you see these horses coming, getting ready, and they're in the warm-up area, they're in the alley, and they're just getting on the muscle and they're getting amped, and it's all you can do to hold them back. Well, what I would love to see is, and you do see this periodically, is someone walking down the aisle, the lane, going into the arena, and they get so far from the arena, and then they ask the horse to step up, and they go in and do the thing and run the pattern and do phenomenal. But when they come back, you give them their head, they come down to a walk, and they just, walk on. You don't see that very much, but that is possible to do. And when you look at the horse's mindset and overall stature, what if we could create that for a horse to think through, give them the time to think through, get prepared, go and perform at the highest level that they can that day, and then come out and give them the reins, and they just walk on out. Can you imagine how much better the overall state of the horse would be if that were the case and the norm?
Yes. And imagine the arena records we will break.
Absolutely.
Now of the thousands of horses, and I talk about barrel racers most because that's what I do. Okay. Michael, what's your preferred event?
Oh, well, I love them all. I think if I was standing up, it would be reining cow.
Okay.
But mainly my background is English horses.
Okay. All right. So see, we're not just for barrel racers. Okay. And you see some horses make it, and it seems like everybody's chasing those top few leaders. Whoever sets the lead, they must have it figured out. And that's where I got stuck in a rut. whoever the trainer of the month was in my local area, I would just study them.
Yep.
But I didn't quite understand the process. I was not thinking from my horse's point of view. I was thinking from that trainer that I wanted to be that person, what I thought their point of view was. And even though some people do make it, and they may willingly want to debate us and say, you're wrong because it works for me.
Right.
I would challenge with, that is a very small percentage of the horse population. If you go to a barrel race, like you said, Michael, and it's not just barrel races, it could be an English event, it could be a reining event, it could be even a pleasure event. Most of them aren't. Most of them are not making it. There are frustrated horses who are physically healthy and sound, but their body language is silently screaming. I love Julie's words in Stall Talk several weeks ago. Even professional trainers are not paying attention to the silent screaming of the horse's body language. Most of them are not making it. It is important to step back and ask, why? What is missing? What is not working? What have we missed? What is there left to learn? For me personally, pride and poverty held me back. I thought, I learned that. I've had winners. I've been in the winner circle. I've been used to trotting up to that rodeo secretary every weekend and picking up my checks. That was back in the day before they just automatically put them in your account. Well, that was not good for me when I wanted to climb the ranks of rodeo. My pride stood in my way. And then my poverty mindset told me I could do things better on my own. I don't need a mentor. I can figure it out myself, or I can't afford a mentor. And then like 13 years later, after banging my shin on X amount of barrels, I decided, it would have been real nice to have stall high sooner.
Well, I agree and well put. But think of how many horses are utilizing valuable energy before they ever go into the arena. They're using valuable energy that could be transferred to their performance. Well, why don't we help them understand the process before they go in the arena? Work on those things. Help them understand what it means to be relaxed. Now, if I tell you to relax, your first thought is, well, I'm trying. I thought I was. We've got to, and Leanna, you hit it so beautifully. We've got to give ourselves the opportunity to learn on a our nervous system, on a neurological level, on a cellular level, that then comes to a mental perspective and helps develop that. And I might be off base here, Leanna, and please tell me if I am, but that's what I see. Why do racehorses in the paddock, why do they have their riders or jockeys get on a horse while they're moving? So they don't blow up. We'll teach them that they don't need to blow up. Why do they go to the gate and you've got to get guys behind them that are locking arms to put them in the gates? Whether
You want to know my dad's answer?
What's that? Yes, please.
Time is money.
Absolutely.
As I was a young horseman and I was learning to train horses and riding, I was my dad's shadow. I mean, I don't even remember how many horses we trained a day, but I was right by his side. Well, I had my little ranch mare, and she was my first training project that I was responsible for. And I would work on these things, creating softness and trying to make her a barrel horse. And I was talking to my dad one day, we were riding out across the pasture, and I said, Dad, why don't we get these race colts broke like Ruffles first? And then they perform better. And he said, baby, he said, how long is it taking you to get Ruffles there? You have set a set criteria, and every day you feed that horse, you have to have a result. And so for him, he explained the business side of it. And that's part of the reason I didn't enjoy being on the track. I went because my dad loved it. That's not my arena though. I don't like riding horses that are in a hurry all the time. I love to go fast.
Yes.
I love to go fast. The faster, the better, as long as it is controlled and they
Right.
understand, whoa. When I feel safe and I know I got a good set of brakes, man, I'm looking for the fastest horse in the world. That's the one I want to ride. But horses that go fast without brakes. But anyway, that was my dad's answer. For him, it was always he had the pressure to get those horses to a competition level to monetize them the quickest. And he said, if we spend 3 or 4 years making that horse, they've lost their window.
Yep.
That's sad, but that was
And I grew up the same way with my dad. He put me on these horses and I was scared to death, but I was scared. I was more scared of disappointing my dad than I was of the horse being just so amped they wouldn't stop. And you're loping or cantering for 3 hours to get these horses because you can't get them to stop. And look at what is being compromised in that process.
amen.
And we see this so often, and hence why we're all here. Really, I mean, we're trying to do our best because it's heartfelt to help these animals, and I think all the time, the conversations that I've been blessed to have with Ray Hunt, for example, the horse is the ultimate teacher. And when we're ready, when the human is ready, the horse will teach us what we need to know to be the best that we can be in that partnership with these animals. And it is an absolute beautiful and honoring opportunity to watch and be part of when you see that and feel it.
Amen. Leanna,
I'd like to say something here,
Martin.
which is, the value of a coach.
Yes.
Picking a good coach is important. And you spoke to it that you were following all these different people that came through town. Some knew what they were doing, some were not so wise. I think the huge value of your program is that somehow you have become mature in a fine way. In the sense that you have just banged your head long enough, hard enough against the problems, and you have been humble enough to actually realize what you were doing right and wrong and admit it. There are many people who just don't. And I somehow associated with age, where the young folk tend to just think that they are bulletproof and they can just power through it all. And the older seems to come to the understanding that maybe taking the long road is actually the wise choice. But the point I want to stress is the value of the coach. When you are just first coming to it, having somebody watch you and tell you back, because oftentimes you just can't tell from within whether you're doing it right or not. So have someone watch you and guide you and teach you early on is going to be a huge improvement or contribution to your general performance in all areas of whatever endeavor you're into.
Absolutely. Fantastic bullseye. Quick side
Yeah.
note. I'm doing
Yeah.
my yoga classes again, but I'm doing them here. And this morning I did a short video and I have a mirror right on the other side of this laptop. Well, I love this coach today because he is very methodical. He explains those little bitty details. He does not rush. I would rather take a slow road yoga class instead of a fast one, and I want to learn. Well, he said one little thing. He said, keep your hips balanced. Are your hips level? Well, I looked at the side mirror and they were not. And I would not have known it. I wouldn't have known that was important had he not said that. But I was immediately able to say, maybe I'm not as good in this pose as I thought I was. And when I changed, dynamic, you could feel different. You could feel your muscles engage differently. And that's where the value is at. Leanna, what's your take on the horse being the best teacher? Why is that?
Oh, there's no doubt, because communication happens nervous system to nervous system, right brain to right brain. And that's a part of our brain and our body that has no need for words. And so the horse is the best teacher because it's a reflective process that's happening between. We are intra-connected, right? And that intra-connection includes me, the horse, our environment, right? The mood I come in with, the mood that horse comes in with, and together we become one. And we actually join nervous systems. That's the intra-connection. And when we join nervous systems, it is amazing that the impact one experience can have will far outweigh days of repetition through that one experience, because it deepens into your neurobiology, into your attachment system, and it becomes embodied. And embodied cognition is a whole part of neuroscience that's just profound. And they're constantly making, great leaps in understanding about why embodied understanding is so much more powerful. And it's easier on our bodies and on our horses' bodies, which means we both get to last longer.
Oh, man.
Preach, sister. Embodied versus ingrained.
Yep. Oh, man.
Good. Michael, you were going to say something to that.
Well, I mean, that's just very eloquently put. Beautiful. Why is it when we see a child get on a horse and this horse does magnificent things, but you get an adult that gets on that horse and you don't see a mirror there between the two performances? Why is that? Well, one, take away strength, take away leverage, and just get your mind in tune, nervous system, like Leanna is saying, and watch these horses. And for me, being in a chair and sustaining a paralysis, I can't use leverage. I can't use strength because I get pulled right off center. So what's important for me is to be right neurologically and being able to be in the center of that horse and let that horse move me, and then build on that to develop that energy to then influence the horse to come up to my energy. But it's the energy together that we're looking at. That, right brain to right brain, the nervous system to nervous system. And then you're going to see things manifest with these animals that'll just blow your mind. And the reason is you take those things away and you will be amazed. Be amazed. I've seen it over and over again, not just my own experiences, but with riders. You take the physicality away. You take the, in men, and I'll admit it, you see a man, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but they want to muscle it. They want to, I can make this happen. But a woman will finesse it. And it's a beautiful thing to watch women ride and watch them work through these things on a finesse level, not a physical level. And that's really, it's incredible. And it's humbling for all us men out there, because it's not the bigger bit. It's not, use your spur more, give them a little more iron in the side. It's just sit there, set it up, let them come to you as we're open ourselves to coming to them.
Mm-hmm. And you said something about riding centered.
Yes.
Your legs don't balance you like they used to. And I think for people whose legs do, you don't realize how hard you're pulling because your legs are keeping you balanced. Is that right, Michael?
That's exactly right. Our legs and our hands in particular are aids to, does a rider understand what an independent seat is? Can you allow the horse to move and activate your psoas muscles? It helps your spine with the synovial fluid go up and down. Why is it when I get on a horse, I can tell you where my legs are, I can tell you where their legs are, because there's nothing closer to a human being's walk than moving to a horse. So neurologically, if we can get centered, and that's the whole body and everything that encompasses, and let these horses find that place and be able to perform. And what they're saying to us is, thank you. Thank you for getting out of my way. Thank you for getting out of your own way.
Yes.
And
thank you for letting me carry you.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's the kind of heart that horses have.
Oh, yeah.
we falsely, what I learned last week, Leanna, the way you said it, we falsely think sometimes that compliance is willingness and learning and connection when it might not be. And it could be the opposite as well. You know, defiance. We don't read that often or early enough. Like it could be viewed as, oh, this horse just has a bad attitude. When really the horse is saying, like, I'm showing up for you. I will carry you. I don't want to carry your last 49 years of burdens. I don't know how to solve all of that, but I can take care of you today if you will let me. And that's what we want. But like you say, we kind of tinker. We want to get in there and just that. If that horse doesn't finish the second barrel, then we're there to help with a quick hand. Let me do that for you. Let me finish that for you. If you're getting in a little early, let me just hold you off that barrel. And that's when things get twisted and tangled and we get disconnected. I saw a hand raised a minute ago. Lori, is anyone?
Yes, we have Lori and then Kevin.
All right,
guys,
Lori,
you can go ahead.
Well, I want to go back. You started to ask this question and then we kind of went down a different rabbit hole, which was great. But so I get a little confused in my mind when we're not supposed to be repetitious on these drills. And I know we don't call them drills, but okay. So what you like to do with the horses when we walk and we take them up to their point, we stop and we back them up. Okay. So, you know, I know we got young horses, you have seasoned horses, but still, how do you know when you don't want to do that anymore? And when you go to something different, or what do you do with those seasoned horses that don't really need maybe anything, or do they need a little bit of that every now and then? Like, I don't always quite understand when to make those choices.
so good. Such a great question. And that's where I'm really glad you're part of our program, Lori, and at the highest level in the interactive mentor program, so that we can help you monitor where that horse is at this week, knowing where you want to go, what's realistic, and let's get there. I think Pedro was a great example of that. The last time I worked barrels on him and I recorded that session, I said, this is the last day we're going to practice rate, because I can sense if I do one more day of rate, he's going to take it too far. And then he's going to rate too hard. It's something that I can feel through, Leanna said, experience, because I have felt it thousands of times before. I can help you feel it. I can help you see it. And that's, we could talk a lot longer on this about understanding the individual learner. The roan horse, Dover, that little bay filly, Loba, very intelligent, very fast learners. Well, if I had kept them in the drill program or the drill routine, it would have, what I've done with other horses is it just crock potted the life right out of them. And therefore they lost their try. Yes. They lost that sparkle in their eye. They lost the willingness to please me every day. They plateau and you can feel it. So knowing how to recognize that in an individual ahead of time before you make that mistake, that's why you're here. And that's what I want to help you with. I want to help you understand that. That's the value of being able to meet every night. And you guys send in pictures and videos and let's talk about it with the description. Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, it's a great question. And I think you addressed it wonderfully. The thing is when you feel like you're getting to that point, what I like to do is just go for a walk. You know, get out of the arena, go ride around somewhere. Yeah. Let them have the time to kind of say, oh, all right, and marinate in that and think about it. And then you'll start to see these horses as you come back, they're saying, oh, I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge this. And you're letting me the time to figure this out. And I think that is the biggest thing that I see over and over again is we think if a little's good, a lot's great. And what a horse is saying, I'm going to show you this. What are you going to do with it? if you'll acknowledge that, they will recognize it, and then you help develop that try to a greater extent. You're supporting that.
Good elaboration. Leanna, do you have anything to compound that?
Oh, I think that we can have further discussions about integration time.
Okay.
So, right, like there's this place where you're learning, and then we can go past the point of our window of tolerance, and we can actually lose the learning that we just grasped. And with that, if we can add an integration time, I know Michael, we have some video of what it's like to give the horse, like they learned a lot the day before, and today they don't need to go back over those same experiences, right? But we're bringing in a lot of regulation to help them integrate that learning. And so in each individual case, you're going to look at what are the cues that my horse gives when he is full, he or she. What am I already sensing in having the question, is this too much? Because if I'm already sensing that and I've asked myself the question, I'm going to always go with probably, because I'm asking that question. So again, it's knowing their particular cues. They all have a different language. Movement patterns I always talk about fundamental movement patterns. We all have them. However, the way we express them or the cues that we have are all very different.
Ooh, Lori, hand her a mic and let her drop it. My mind is blown. Leanna, to learn from you. This is so
Same. I feel the same. All these conversations just continue to do this, right? As I look at everyone's chat and what I'm seeing there, this collective conversation is what brings these things to the forefront. It's all working together symbiotically.
Wow. Just wow. Okay. So Lori, does that give you more than you expected for an answer?
Yeah. And I kind of knew some of that was probably what was going to be said. And it is just a learning, but yeah. Knowing when they're ready to move on and do something different. And, that's probably a lot of the reason why some people want to be trainers and some people don't, because it's hard if you're really going to be able to be in tune to all of that with a horse when you're teaching them. Is it a possibility some people have it and some people don't? Or is it that everybody can learn to be that way?
Michael?
That's a great question. I think some people innately have the nurturing ability to grasp and support on a nervous system level and a mind level and a compassionate heart level. And I think when we go back to taking force out of the equation, amazing things happen. And the beautiful part of that is to be able to recognize it. And the horse will always tell you, and there's a tremendous amount of try, but we get in the way. And that's hard. It's very hard for people. And I think, Kendra, you alluded to it. Time is money. That's a mindset that a lot of people have. But again, I'll get back to you're either going to do it on the front end or you're going to do it on the back end. And when you're giving a horse away because they're burned up, you've decreased the value overall tremendously.
And you lost your mom.
Yep. Exactly right.
Lori, I think it's possible for everyone to learn. I do think there's a difference between a skill and a gift.
Yes.
Both have to be developed.
Yep.
We have another question. Was it Kevin?
Yeah, it was.
What you got, Kevin?
Michael, you were talking about this is a question for Leanne, but Michael was talking about the horse and they're coming up the alley and they're all on the muscle and breathing fire and stomping around and all that. As far as a human goes and their muscle, their nervous system and how that would affect them, would you explain that? That way we can take that and say, oh, this is affecting our horse this way, and we're losing that performance. If I haven't stumbled all over that, trying that.
Go ahead, Leanna. I think you could address it very well.
We don't read lips,
There you go.
but it's nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you. The one of the ways I would describe that is we're causing an adrenaline cortisol rush for what? To what end?
Right.
Because at some point, and again, I think at future dates, Martin, you can speak to this, if that will increase inflammation, right? Now, if we have an experience where we're being called upon, because it is congruent, our body can absolutely increase its cortisol, however, also increasing other factors within our body to help us meet that moment. And then that is a regulated experience versus let's just hammer on you, let's increase and up your cortisol and you're going to be fiery. To what end? That's the question I always have myself or always try to have in my consciousness is to what end? And if there's a connection, then our bodies are going to be more easily able to assimilate the adrenaline and the cortisol that you've engaged in some way. But that's a great question.
Yeah, we talked about this before. Learning is not possible when you're in the sympathetic state of mind. You have to be parasympathetic, which means you have to first go slow when you are not all fire and brimstone, whatever stuff going on. You need to be learning in the slow, relaxed mode. Then when it comes to battle time or whatever that is, go time, you need to have your grooves worn in because you're going to fall back right into the back brain and you're going to just simply go on autopilot. And if you don't have it all built in on automatic, you're just going to revert to whatever, I don't know what those are, unknowing automatic processes rather than what you
The ones
want.
the ones that didn't work.
Berserkerness.
Berserk. Martin, I referenced you the other night when I got on a student's horse that was real hot and it came unwound quickly and I didn't expect it, quite frankly. So it kind of caught me out of left field, but you could just feel his heart just pounding, irrational. There was no negotiating with this horse. I triggered him. He puffed up his chest and he wanted to duke it out. He wanted to battle. There's no training really when their pulse is kicking that high. And Michael, you said like there's value in the weight and there's value in the walk. For me, having a horse walk with a very low heart rate, a low head, not pulling on my hands, walk up the alley and then we leave, no fuss. It's so nice. That's what I aim for every day. And when people get to feel that for the first time, it is refreshing and that is a reward in itself. Guys, stall hide just keeps getting better. We keep going deeper, it seems, as we take this deep dive, as we're launching this ship out to bigger, deeper water. The things that we're learning is just mind-blowing. Leanna, integration time. We can push a horse past tolerance. Let's absolutely talk more about that. I've never used the word integration with horses, I don't think, in my whole life. So let's do it again. Martin, thank you for being here again. Lori, thanks for moderating from Nacogdoches, Texas. Thank you guys for watching, whether you're on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, here on the Zoom, because you are part of the Stall High community and you have the Stall High app downloaded. A special thanks to Martin Patella at Life Enthusiast. Thank you, Merhow Trailers. If you haven't pulled a Merhow, you need to, because once you pull a Merhow, you will not pull anything else. And I can testify to that. They are amazing. If you want help with your horse, if this episode describes you and your horse, if you have a horse that is physically healthy, but you don't have the relationship that you want, or you feel like your horse has more potential, but you've hit a stall wall, you've plateaued and you don't know how to go to the next level, or you are in serious 911 help, things are to the point to where you know you're either going to get hurt or your horse is about to get hurt, we're here for you. We're here to help it make sense. And that's why we have the online mentor program at Stall High. Wow, this was really good. Michael Richardson, Leanna Rae, Martin Patella, everyone here in Stall High, thank you so much. And let's do it again next week.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys.
All right, everybody. To my interactive members, I'll see you tonight in my 6 o'clock class. Adios, everyone.
Have a blessed day.
Our feet are the same.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Kevin.
Goodbye.